All right, Khayelihle Khumalo in studio with me again. He has been on the ground in Zimbabwe this week following once again contested polls in the country. So we don't know much about the presidential race, is that correct? We know that ZANU-PF, according to the last results, had the most seats in parliament. Just tell us where we are.
Well, very much so, Francis. And of course, this is just a very good exercise from the point of view of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. If one would just say it's perhaps like a moment of redemption in light of the litany of challenges really that have faced these elections, trying to really just open up the space. Once again, going back to the reports by the observer missions where they raised the issue of having those consultations with the political parties, but also really just to try and make sure that everything is transparent. But also what we do know so far is that in terms of the parliamentary seats, you do have about 120 seats or so going to the ZANU-PF and about 70 seats going to the CCC, and you still have about 14 that are still outstanding. So in the main, again, we do understand as well, in the midst of all of this in Zimbabwe, we do understand during the course of the night as well, there'll be that engagement by incumbent President Emmerson Mnangagwa, really just addressing the nation at such a very precarious point with all these challenges facing Zimbabwe.
All right, let me just welcome our new viewers from SABC 3. You have been on the soccer, joining now the full view. Great to have you with us. I'm Francis Hurd, and with me, Khayelihle Khumalo, SABC News reporter who has been on the ground in Zimbabwe. Do you agree with our previous word from our correspondent on the ground tonight, saying that maybe the president will be a little bit more diplomatic? Because remember, ZANU-PF spoke yesterday and hit back pretty hard after the election observers raised some issues, saying that there's signs of bias.
Well, very much so, Francis. As a head of state, I think he just wants to come across as a unifier, as someone who's very much diplomatic, because, I mean, he's still, the president until we really get a very clear picture. But also, like you just said, ZANU-PF was very candid in their approach. In fact, they went as far as indicating that observers, when they do come to Zimbabwe, they should understand that they're not rewriting the laws of the country. There are certain procedures that are followed in Zimbabwe. But of course, I mean, the observers do insist that what is very key in this regard is about making sure that the regional, international practices are adhered upon. But also, SADC on its own, they do have their own guidelines in terms of making sure that the observers are able to just get a very full sense of what's happening.
All right, we do have a problem, tell me if you agree, if the observer missions, including SADC, come out ultimately and say that this was an illegitimate election and Emmerson Mnangagwa is re-elected. He's got a problem.
It's got a very massive problem of legitimacy, especially because we know this time around, unlike 2018, where also litany of controversies, this time around, at least those who are close to him, they do say that he really wanted to have a very just good victory, especially because he's trying to reintegrate Zimbabwe into a very good state, the issue of investment as well. We know that with violence that erupted in 2018, there was that, hesitancy from the perspective of the investors who were saying, you were really talking about saying Zimbabwe is open again, but you're seeing all these scenes. But also quite a myriad of issues as well, Francis. As someone who's really well versed in the economic issues, we know when it comes to the loans, your International Monetary Fund, your World Bank, Zimbabwe has been trying to engage with those institutions, even Commonwealth itself, where Zimbabwe is trying to be, readmitted. So in light of these controversies, there will be a lot of questions about his presidency.